Is this the end of the Alabama dynasty as we know it, or are we just overreacting? Before we get into it, please go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments below. Please answer this question. Is the Alabama dynasty over as we know it? Or are we just overreacting to the past two non-playoff losses for Alabama? Okay, I got a chance to sit down and watch the Cover 3 podcast yesterday while I was working, and the guys over there posed a really good question. And they brought up some very good points, which I will bring up in this one. So if you have not went over and checked out the Cover 3 podcast, you definitely should. But the question was posed, is this the end of the Alabama dynasty? Now, I do want to preface this and say they think Alabama isn't going anywhere. But they think this is going to be the end of where we see Alabama just be so dominant as they were. Maybe not winning playoff after playoff and championship after championship. Now, what do I think this is, right? I think a lot of this is, because you're seeing a lot of it in the Big 12, specifically two teams, Kansas and Vanderbilt, right? Vanderbilt's in the SEC, Kansas is in the Big 12. What you're seeing here, though, is you're seeing the COVID years kind of really start to stack up. And I think for a lot of these teams where you have the guys that have had the COVID year now, and now they're getting that extra year, getting extra time in, it's getting these teams where maybe in the past they haven't been able to have that kind of experience or that kind of level of talent. Well, now they've got that kind of level of talent back there, and they've got the experience for the younger guys as well. And so I think there's maybe a lot of different variables here. COVID seniors, transfer portal, it's helping a lot of teams out. And maybe Alabama's just on the wrong side of it right now. Because here's the deal. In 2021, they had some pretty close losses and some pretty close wins. They won 31-29 in Florida at the Swamp. They lost to Texas A&M in College Station. We all watched that game. They beat LSU 20-16. They beat Arkansas 42-35. And then they beat Auburn in overtime 24-22. And that was a game, honestly, I think they should have lost. I think a lot of other people thought they should have lost that too. But Alabama won the game. Doesn't matter if the refs helped or not, they won the game. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what's looking at it. And this year, they beat Utah State 55-0. You think, okay. They beat Texas 20-19. Sorry, not 2019. They beat Texas 22-19. I look at that game and go, I expected more from Bama in that game, but maybe Texas is showing something we haven't seen, right? Then they come back out, play the University of Louisiana Monroe, 63-7. Vanderbilt, 55-3. Arkansas, you beat 49-26. I thought at the time that was a good win. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was wrong about Arkansas. You beat Texas A&M at home, 24-20, and I think that's a game that a lot of people expected Alabama to just be able to go out there and dominate in, right? Especially after all the offseason noise, everything that was going on. I know I did. I expected it to be just a massive blowout. We're not seeing that. Then you have to go to Knoxville, to number 6 Tennessee, where you lose 52-49, and you drop the game. Now, you had plenty of opportunities to win that game. You had plenty of opportunities to win it. Just like against the Texas A&M game, you had plenty of opportunities to go in there and blow Texas A&M out. You just gave the opportunity for Texas A&M to be in that game and potentially beat you, right? This is the most undisciplined Nick Saban team that we've ever seen. I don't think anybody can doubt that. Seeing the penalties, 66 penalties for 559 yards, averaging 79 penalty yards a game. They've had 15 fumbles. 5 of them they've lost. They're -5 in the turnover ratio. But then you look at all of the good things they're doing, right? 45 points a game. Total of 315 points so far. 41 touchdowns. Their third down efficiency, 39 of 84 at a 46.43 percentage. You'd want to see that maybe a little higher. That's pretty good. I feel like they're doing good things, but it's just weird to say this and weird to think about this because this isn't the Alabama team of old that we used to watch where people feared them when you went out. When I watch how these coaches are being able to coach now against Nick Saban, it's almost like they feel like he's vulnerable. And I don't know if you see that on the sideline, but it feels like there's this vulnerability that they know they can go out there and attack, especially his assistants. Now that Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher have showed that it can be done, that an assistant can beat Nick Saban, you have to wonder. And I'm not saying that Alabama's going to fall off of a cliff. I don't think Alabama's fallen off of a cliff. But I do think the undefeated Alabama seasons, seeing Alabama, well, I can't say going to constant playoffs because the playoff expanded to 12 teams, this is probably what you're going to see. You're probably still going to see them there. But we're not going to probably see them win national championship after national championship after national championship. I mean, it might be Georgia's time. Georgia's been right up there in the recruiting rankings with Bama, splitting number 1 and number 2 almost every other season. They're right up there. I don't think they're going anywhere until Nick Saban leaves, but I do think, and I agree, that this is the end of the dynasty that we know it for Alabama in terms of going out there and winning national championships consistently. Alabama's still picking up number 1 recruiting classes. They're still going out there and winning 11 to 12 games. So I'm not going to discredit them yet, but the SEC is getting a lot tougher, especially with OU and Texas coming in 2025. You should have to really start asking yourself if Alabama really is consistently the best team in the country. Because right now, when I look at the AP top 20, at the AP top 5, I mean, I'm looking at the AP top 25, but when I start looking at the AP top 5, I don't know if Alabama's beating very many of those teams. I mean, obviously, we think they can beat Tennessee because they played Tennessee close, but Tennessee won, so we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Can they beat Georgia this season? I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. I really do. And I don't think they're beating Ohio State. And I think Michigan's right there behind Ohio State. So can they beat Michigan? Can they beat Clemson? I don't know. I definitely don't think so this season, especially with the way that Bill O'Brien is play calling on the offensive side of the ball. And then you have all the questions that everybody's had about Pete Golding for years. But now that the question's out there, now that we're starting to ask this question, maybe Nick Saban's about to make us all look foolish. Maybe this offseason you're going to see some coordinator changes, and yeah, he's going to make us all look foolish. That's what Nick Saban does. But go ahead, jump in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Alabama dynasty has come to an end?